Well, hey everybody, it's Sandy. Welcome back to my channel dedicated to helping you advocate for your own health one topic at a time. Yeah, yay, using the phone again. We'll see. I think I can hold it pretty steady here. Now, I'm just talking from my car because I'm having some work done in my house, and yeah, infection rate's low in my area right now, at least so far, but yeah, I kind of wanted to be out of there. So yeah, so speaking of your own health, I want to talk about a couple of things today. First of all, getting a cold in the time of COVID, yeah, finally happened to me. And then this new Omicron variant. I keep wanting to call it the Olecranon variant. That's an anatomical term, but it's an Omicron variant. So yeah, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I actually had a really great Thanksgiving. I had, everybody was home, so I had my kids with me and stuff. Unfortunately, a cold also came home with one of them. My poor daughter, I could tell she felt so badly about it, but she wasn't sure. She thought maybe she woke up with a little scratchy throat. She sometimes gets that, so, you know, it's not usually anything. And she's been vaxxed, boosted, all with Pfizer and stuff, so I wasn't concerned at all that it was COVID. She wasn't around anybody who hadn't been vaxxed and boosted. So anyway, she came on home, and then sure enough, it was a cold, and then I got it. And yeah, getting a cold in the time of COVID is like not so great. I think I've said before on my channel that one of the nice things that's come out of COVID and all the mask wearing and the emphasis on hygiene and the mitigation issues in general is that I haven't missed getting colds and flus and stuff like that. And boy, that couldn't be more true. I really remember now. You know, I'm one of these people that I get a cold and it can be like totally mild, but I get this like post-infectious bronchitis, like some reactive airway that lasts for sometimes a few weeks. Sometimes I have to use an inhaler. Fortunately, that hasn't happened to me. But you know, the worry about that happening is just very stressful. And these days, you know, if you have anything at all going on, you know, having a cold can really toss a wrench into it. First of all, I never did want to get people sick, even back in the days before COVID. But now, you know, it's particularly worrisome to people around you if they hear you coughing, because there's always the question, like, does that person have COVID? And so I knew that I had a few things coming up, including an appointment with my new dentist who, oh my God, I finally got to go to the dentist. I had said in another video a while back that I changed dentists because it turns out that a dentist who bought my previous dentist's practice is, I guess, anti-vax and whatever. I decided to leave that practice. So I was really looking forward to it, and it took me a long time to get in there, and I was just worried the whole weekend about having that dental appointment ruined and having to postpone it because, like, if you're hacking and coughing, you can't go in there, you know, even if it's not COVID. So, you know, there was that worry. I had a couple of other things going on that I knew would be just completely derailed if I were to, you know, still be symptomatic after the weekend. So it was just like a lot of energy being sucked up by worrying about that and sort of trying to have my ducks in a row. One of the things I did in terms of having my ducks in a row, though, was to go get a PCR test. So my daughter and I both went and got PCR tests. I fully expected it to come back negative. Of course it did. But that was just because I anticipated that, let's say I'm well enough to go to any of the appointments that I have, but for whatever reason I, you know, have a coughing spell. I wanted to be able to explain this to whoever I needed to tell and say, look, I got the PCR test and I just want to show it to you for, you know, so that nobody around me has to worry about that. Plus I'm vaxxed and boosted and everything else. But, you know, suffice it to say, I've just learned that not only do I not miss, you know, the physical symptoms of a cold and everything else, but it just is a whole new ball game now in the time of COVID, at least to my mind. And you know, I could tell my daughter she just felt so bad about bringing it home, and it sounds like it came because a friend she was with hadn't told her that she was getting a mild cold. And I guess, you know, at that age when you're in your 20s and stuff, you're not often thinking like that, but I hope that person has maybe seen the light on that, because you really can impact other people around you. So anyway, fortunately, it never really did turn into this really bad post-infectious bronchitis. I had some of those coughing reactive airway spells, but fortunately they were few and far between. So I kept all of my appointments, and I didn't have a moment during any of them where I really had to explain any of this. So that was really great. Yeah, so anyway, besides that, it was just really nice to be with my whole family, you know, have both my kids home. I don't remember the last time we were all together. I guess it was in the beginning of the summer, right after everybody was vaccinated and the infection rate all across the country dropped for a while, and, before Delta arrived. And we had a 90th birthday party for my father-in-law. And so that was the last time we were all together, although we were not at home. We were at my in-laws' house. So I don't know, it really had an impact on me. And I guess I knew that I've missed that, and not that I don't live in the same town as either one of my kids right now, but it's like until COVID, I always knew I could just get there whenever I wanted to, or they could just come to me whenever they wanted to. And now there's this, relatively being isolated and things before we see each other, and just having the energy around the house and being with them and just really enjoying them and laughing together and stuff. I mean, really, we had a lot of laughs. And then they left, and I'm so grateful for the memories, and I'm so glad that they came and everything. But I realize now that, I think I've really, really missed them. I mean, more, I knew I did, but I think I realized the impact that COVID has really had on me mentally, and emotionally. And so, yeah, that's for another time, I guess. But it was a really nice time, and I hope you guys had a nice Thanksgiving weekend. I hope everybody's was at least as nice as mine. And, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it even with the cold, because it was just so nice to have them. Yeah. So anyway, and then along came the new variant, and, I said I was going to talk about it. I'm only really going to say something very brief about it, which is that I'm not just getting all hepped up about this variant yet. I am a little bit worried about, some of the countries that have travel restrictions, and there's all kinds of pros and cons of these travel restrictions. I personally wish we just had more rigorous testing for people coming to this country. So maybe 72 hours before you get on a plane, and then isolate, and then once you get here, another PCR, and, whatever. I think that there might be ways to deal with this better than just a travel ban from a particular country, because people can fly from South Africa to Frankfurt, Germany, and then come here, right? So I don't think that anybody's really tracking that all that carefully, and we live in such a big country that there are many, many points of entry, and whatever. And then don't even get me started about people are coming from all over the place all the time. So I'm not really sure how well that works. As far as my concerns about the variant itself, there's no doubt that it's highly mutated, and there's no doubt that it's highly transmissible. I think it's interesting that the CDC has now completely refined its guideline about boosters, and has said now anybody who's eligible should get a booster. I thought that they should have gotten around to the whole okaying boosters for anybody who's more than 6 months out, at least a few weeks before Thanksgiving, because I think that just would have been very helpful, because the people who are getting boosters are the same people who were open to being vaccinated in the first place. So I think that's like low-hanging fruit, and we could have at least taken care of like the low-hanging fruit before the holiday and all the traveling and whatnot. I don't think that was going to impact the people who were anti-vax anyway. But, that's water under the dam. So, am I worried about the new variant? Yeah, I am worried about it, but interestingly not like I was about Delta, despite the fact that it's so much more transmissible, because I think that it's not that I'm not worried about it. It's not that I don't think that it could be dangerous. Of course I think it could be, and we don't know yet. But I think I've just resigned myself that we have a new normal. And I did a video about this a while ago. I'm going to look for it, and I'm going to try to link it right here. But I think there's just a new normal post-COVID now, which is that, we might have periods of time where we can enjoy some more relative freedom, and based on the infection rate in your local area, what's going on, and depending on how risk adverse you are, I will go back to doing certain things. And then there's other things I don't ever see myself doing again. Like, I don't see myself wasting time in grocery stores ever again now that there's curbside pickup and delivery. But there will be times when I'm relatively more free, and then there will be times when there's a new variant or a surge of COVID around, and I'll walk it back a bit. And that's going to be different for different people, just depending on what's going on in your area. So I kind of expected this. I can't say I expected to hear news that we've got a new variant that's so highly mutated. And I didn't expect to hear the vaccine companies talk about having to revamp the vaccine and make the next booster that's specific to a variant. That is worrisome. But I'm expecting to hear any time now from the countries that are studying it, the places where they know that they're tracking it and they have cases, and the places that are keeping good data, like, for example, in Israel with the ongoing Pfizer study, and they do have this new variant already in their population, they know it. I'm expecting to at least hear some facts soon. And just knowing that we're going to hear some facts at some point, for me, that sort of puts me at ease, even if I know they might not be desirable facts. But it sort of relieves me of just spending all kinds of time right now, in between now and then, worrying about it. That's kind of how I used to feel before we had the ongoing Pfizer study in Israel, because I don't feel that we're really collecting data here in this country. I know we are, but I don't feel like we're doing it in a very expedient way, or in a way that is easily accessible to most people. So, now that I know that we have that, I just feel like it's not worth the time and energy that it sucks up to be worrying about a new variant that I'll know what to do sooner rather than later. So, of course, I'd rather this hadn't happened. I guess it's not surprising that it came, from a country that is not widely vaccinated. I don't think the majority of people are even vaccinated. It's something like 30% in South Africa. Unfortunately, their primary vaccine, I believe, is the J&J vaccine. I think we've learned a lot about that vaccine in the last several months. So the one good thing that I've heard is that the people that I've heard speak who have the better credentials behind their names, and people who are not fearmongers, like, for example, Scott Gottlieb, I've heard people say that just because the vaccine is less effective against a particular variant doesn't mean that it's not effective. And I think that that's already happened with certain variants, where we said, oh, in a test tube it was like 70% less effective against this variant or that variant. I think there was the UK variant we were worried about for a while. But in the end of the day, these vaccines really did work against those variants. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping to hear good news, but I'm waiting to hear the facts. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any concerns about that variant, if you've got any, any news for anybody. I guess not everybody that listens to my channel is here in the United States. So if you have, any loved ones or any other kind of information, thoughts, fears, different ideas about policies that are being enacted in your local area in response to this or otherwise, I'd really be interested in hearing it. In my area, there's really virtually no mitigation, which is just so upsetting, especially at times like when we had our Delta surge over the summer. But so all I can do is just take care of me and my loved ones and keep doing what I'm doing. In the meantime, I hope you guys stay safe. We do have, fortunately, respirators widely available. By the way, I wanted to mention that since I reviewed the Gerson respirator, I'm going to link that video here. I still am loving that respirator, but people have found it hard to come by. I guess there's some supply shortage right now with that. So I want to just let you know that Armbrust is sending me a couple other style, duckbill style respirators by a couple other manufacturers. So as soon as I have those and I have a chance to try them out, I will be reviewing those for you guys soon. So yeah, that's the good news, that we all have respirators, right? So at least those of us who want them. So on that note, I'm going to sign off, and I feel a little coughing fit coming on. So I'm going to continue to drink my tea and continue to get well, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Until next time, be well. Bye-bye.